What happened to you after your husband was fired? Who was you? You were then his fiance at that point in time.
Correct.
Right.
So
and
after he was fired, I just kept getting, the comments that fly around, you could imagine it was like, oh, how dare you, jump the race card. We don't want to train you. We don't think that what you said was right. How basically nothing was done. See, what has to happen in a situation like that, a corporation has to protect its employees by issuing something officially. Nothing was officially rendered. No witnesses were asked questions. No documentation went on file. There's nothing. As far as New Jersey Trans is concerned, this never happened. This situation never happened. Even though you have emails to that effect, there's no actual official investigatory situation that took place.
So when did you leave New Jersey Transit?
I finally left at the mid part of December, approximately December 14th.
On your own accord, or did they get rid of you?
What I deem it in the courts is that I suffered a constructive discharge, that because of the situation of not receiving an investigation, of my company not coming to some sort of agreement that what happened to me was not right, and then for my supervisors to further not investigate anything else down the line that had happened to me, that I could no longer remain on the job. That's considered a constructive discharge when the situation becomes so volatile that you can no longer live with the situation.
And after that happened, did you file a complaint before you did that or after you did that?
Before I filed a complaint with my internal EEO department. Afterwards, I filed a complaint with the external U.S. EEOC. And that's where this begins.
So where are we today as far as this whole situation is concerned?
Where we are today is that I've now gone to the District Court of New Jersey. I've then filed there was a summary judgment in the District Court of New Jersey for which the courts agreed with the defendants, and
that's you and your husband, or just you?
No, just me. We can't. We're pro se. We represent ourselves, which means we can't represent each other. So our cases are both separate. Now we start our cases both at the same time. He's going on to trial shortly. Under and his summary judgment, it was rendered that he did suffer retaliation. My judge in my case, even though we had the same judge, my judge rendered that my case was null and void of any remedy that could be had. So
is it because you left? Is it because you left, or why is it?
The reason they give is that I did not suffer the ultimate employment action. Is that I did not, that they did not fire me. They're not looking to the protected activity that I engaged in. They're not looking to precedent that speaks of constructive discharge in cases like this. So I contend that she did not look at the case in its entirety, which is what the Supreme Court requires in cases like this.
When you say constructive discharge, is that sort of like they make it so miserable for you?
Right. It's the same as like in real estate. It's what's referred to as a constructive eviction. And a constructive eviction cannot be claimed. Can you get that? Cannot be claimed unless a person leaves.
Okay.
So I could no longer take the situation because I feared for my life at that point. I was very scared of what would happen to me if I continued on, being that I was threatened by an actual supervisor, by one of their agents.
So it looks like if, just based on the way things are going, that, your husband case is going a different route as opposed to your case.
Correct. My case is now before the Supreme Court. I've filed a petition for writ of certiorari, stating that the highest court in our land, has rendered a decision in a similar case in Thompson versus North American Stainless, I believe that was in 2011. And what that states is that because of my protected activity, as in Thompson's case, his fiance had complained about gender discrimination. Thompson was then fired from his job 3 weeks later. In this case, I complained, and my fiance was fired 2 weeks later. So very similar circumstances, which I cited to in both the district court and the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, to which no one brought that up, that I even submitted to that precedential case. So that's the question, that's the federal question that I'm asking for the Supreme Court of the United States to look at.
So your case is before the Supreme Court, and your husband's case is where?
At the District Court of New Jersey.
District Court of New Jersey, and that is supposed to be coming up sometime soon?
It's very soon. Yeah,
Okay,
they're
you haven't
in
had a date.
pre-trial.
They haven't had a date for that yet.
No, they're just still in pre-trial status.
I mean, does it affect you in any way if you guys discuss this case publicly?
No, everything is public record. You could.
Yeah, I know, because
you could go on to the Supreme Court of the United States law blog right now and see that my case is pending as a. It has an actual docket number. You can probably go into Scholar Google.
Yeah, it's yeah. I have it up right here. You know,
Okay.
it's the case. Yeah,
Correct.
with Mr. Bonnet LETP case began on December the 4th, 2007. The LETP is an 18 to 20 month training program for locomotive engineer students, and it's designed to train students in all aspects of becoming a locomotive engineer. And then it also talks about who the supervisors were as well in this case document. So
Let me ask the question: how many are there? What's the percentage of black people?
I know during depositions, I asked one of the ex-chief road foreman of engines at the time how many women specifically were there. Out of in excess of 250, 300 engineers, about 6 women total across the board of the Hoboken division as well as the Newark division. So very, very low number, and that encompasses some of the black people as well.
But someone will ask the question. Well, the New Jersey Transit didn't fire you. You left on your own accord.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't fire you like they fired your husband.
Lawyers try to say that too.
You decide to leave on your own accord. I mean,
that's not leaving of your own accord, though. When the situation becomes volatile, or you're faced with a situation where you feel like it's a hostile work environment and you can no longer be there, the courts have remedy for that, and it is called a constructive discharge. It's not called at that point. Yes, you can have a physical piece of paper that says I resigned, but to resign under duress is a constructive discharge.
But couldn't you have asked for a leave of absence?
In the situation that I was in, no, I could not. I was a locomotive engineer trainee. They make it very clear that if you don't cut the muster, you're out of the program. At that point, because of the pressure that I was under, I felt that was not a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we only have a few more minutes. We have Mr. Anthony Bonnet joining us now, and
I missed that. Like going to the door.
Welcome, Mr. Bonnet.
This
is Mr. Anthony Bonnet.
Even yes.
Yeah.
So approximately like answering Marjorie's question about the percentage of black people to the engineer program, approximately 5%.
5% or less.
Or less.
5% or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And 5% or less. Minority, woman, black, Hispanic.
Woman, yes.
Okay, 5% or less.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
that
during your time, that's the number. Do you know if the number has increased, decreased? It's always been that.
I believe that's probably the most progressive number. It would almost remain the same. That number would probably stay about the same. I think it's been the same since they started hiring or were forced to hire more minorities. Prior to that, maybe it was 1%. So.
Now, has this situation happened to any other minority at the New Jersey at New Jersey Transit?
In my opinion, yes, but unfortunately.
Well, when you say "in my opinion,"
in my opinion, well, understanding that the process at New Jersey Transit, they'll hire applicants, and they'll bring in, say, a class of 25 individuals. And there may be, like in my case, there were 16 in my class, of which there were 5 African American males.
Mm-hmm.
At the completion of my classroom phase of training, which is a period of approximately 8 months, there was only one African American male, myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the others, the
were they just not cutting it, or was it something else?
That's what they would like for you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. The testing is systematic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's designed to appear. It's facially neutral testing.
Mm-hmm.
They administer examinations in such a way where somebody finds himself in academic probation, or they discourage them. They say, listen, it don't look like you're going to make it, so why don't you resign now? We'll find you another position in the company or what have you.
Mm.
And then there's people who were in my class who, like for instance, one gentleman from Asbury Park, he was a Caucasian male. He hadn't even applied for the locomotive engineer program. He applied for a janitor's position, and he was, in fact, in my class.
Mm.
And he literally could not make it. The training is hard. The academics, they do require a great detail of attention and dedication. But if they want you to make it, you'll make it.
So he made it?
No,
He didn't make it?
He was. It appeared they wanted him to make it. He didn't want to make it. In his case, there are Caucasian males that don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
The actual number in my case from 16 ended up being 4 students at the end. So
16 students started off.
yes,
There were 5 minorities, 5 African American.
Yes.
So we're saying it's about close to 33, almost 33 and a third %. You know, I mean, I like to give numbers.
Yes.
33 and a third %
Yes.
were African Americans started.
Yes.
And at the end, there was 4 left.
Yes.
And what was the breakdown of the 4?
Well, it was 2 Caucasian males,
Mm.
actually 3 Caucasian males and 1 Hispanic male, and that was it.
You weren't in one of the
I
4?
was no longer there.
Oh, you were no
If I
longer
was
there.
It would have been 1 of 5 at the point that.
Oh, okay.
At the point that I was going, there were 4 left.
But currently, are there any other cases against the New Jersey Transit that's similar to your cases?
I'd like to talk about that a little bit, along with the numbers you're talking about. My class started out with 24 people total. There were 3 women. 2 of us were African American. 4 women. 2 of us were African American, and there was 2 other, like one black gentleman and 1 Hispanic gentleman. The Hispanic and the black gentleman, 2 of the women, 1 black woman, 1 white woman, were all gone at the end. I was the only African American left. The only other white female that was left was actually already a conductor with New Jersey Transit, so she kind of had a shoe-in anyway. So in the end, there were none of us left as well out of that entire class. I believe 16 made it through out of the 24.
Is the training so rigorous?
They do not want women and minorities whenever possible. Mm-hmm. That's just it's how it's been. They'll tell you, they'll say it's been like this on the railroad for 100 years, and it's going to be like that for the next 100 years.
So is it just bringing in minorities in the training class and knowing that you're not going to have them make it to the end to become a locomotive engineer?
Yes.
But in sort of to make it look good,
make it look good, and they get federal funding for bringing in minorities and women as well. So those are monies that probably never get put back into the federal system.
But if that is the case, wouldn't there be a plethora of lawsuits against New Jersey Transit?
That's a great question. No, the reason is New Jersey Transit in the training program, the way that they have it structured, is they put the onus on the individual and they say, "Well, you failed." You understand? They didn't say we didn't want you, but it appears that you failed. As in my case, had we not received text message warnings a week prior to them terminating me, warning me of the specific supervisor and how they were going to terminate me, I would have thought it was my fault. But they engaged in an unauthorized verbal examination, subjective in nature, to terminate me. In other words, it's called the physical characteristics oral examination. when you pass the barriers in class, all of the written examinations, and they say this guy's got it, he can run the train. All they sit you down. Typically, it's 3 of us at a time,